Hello, this is Sam Simon, aka the Dementia Man, and this is my blog for the week of June 29th into the July 4th weekend. It'll be to July, I think, 5th or 6th. So this is going to be the Liberation blog. Um, sort of. I want to talk about July 4th, our celebrating our freedom, our liberation, um, the start of a new era of this country, but it also meant a new era of life for the people born here and for people generally. So anyway, I'm going to start with how do people with cognitive disorders, also known as dementia, properly celebrate July 4th. I did a little research. It's not too hard. They're sort of common sense things, but I thought it might be worth mentioning them. The first one is, well, depend on where we are on the journey with the cognitive disorder. Are we early stage, mid stage, late stage? What do we, or your partner or yourself, how do we react to things? Can sudden sounds and bursts scare us? Can we get tired and are we already sundowning? Maybe there's an earlier celebration in your neighborhood to do. Maybe you just stay at home and watch it on television. We've done that before. But we've also gone down to the mall in Washington, D.C., where there have been tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people. We've also gone to our local July 4th. We have a second home in what's called the Northern Neck of Virginia. And we're going to be there this uh, July 4th week. It's quieter, it's very rural Virginia. And so as a result, they'll be very light. We'll hear some fireworks in the distance and we'll watch a lot on television. And that is a good idea for people, particularly with mild cognitive impairment and moving a little bit more into, for me, um, from the early stage to more mid stage. I'm get really, really anxious on uncertainties, and we're noticing some small changes, but changes. So not being in a large crowd, being someplace that we can enjoy the sounds outside, but we can also watch them on TV in both Washington and in New York. Yes, we were actually in New York City one time for the July 4th celebrations. So also another thought for those of us who might get tired early or sundown, I want to find something to do earlier in the day. But it always is good. I'm in favor of marking this special day. There was even a time I remember that we were on the Capitol steps for the July 4th, and our kids were 4 and 5 years old. We've been around the Washington, D.C. area for a long time. Um, but I was having deeper thoughts. You know, my granddaughter Emily and I used to do a blog called Grandpa Goes Deep. And I started thinking about what the idea of freedom and liberty might mean for someone with cognitive impairment and how we move along, and also about how the care system should work. And I think there are lessons in that. Might be a good time to just think about it a little bit. Um, when and how to put somebody in a confined or limited space, and when should I go into a memory unit? Should I go into a memory unit? I know there are lots of factors: money, safety, burden on our caregivers. But I think liberty and freedom in relationship to somebody going through cognitive decline is a pretty important and pretty complicated situation. There are some resources out there that can help a bit on that. I would go to your community area agencies on aging. I know that if you Google that a little bit on, I Google it or research it on the internet, you'll find some good suggestions. But in the bigger frame, the philosophy of, and here Grandpa is going deep, the philosophy of how we go through this period of time. I really encourage us to default into the yes ending of all of this. You need to make a judgment on how your loved one is, and I have to make a judgment too on how I am, in fact, what risk, what levels of just go out there and do it. Wow, it's happy versus how am I going to feel? What's my level of anxiety? And make those judgments, or my judgments, based on that. I do think it's a good time when we have the opportunity, depending on our age, to be with family, to talk about the good fortune of living in a country where the vast majority of us, I know that there are lots of issues about treatment of immigrants and all that, and I don't want to dismiss that. And this July 4th is a good time to think about that. But wow, I have relatives who fled to the United States from Germany and from Poland to find a country that did respect the autonomy of every individual and freedom, provided opportunities to both become citizens. And I like to think, so I'll sort of end my thing here about my thoughts I'm having about me and my grandfather, Harry Elfman. He's my mother's father. So how did I become a troublemaker in life? Is it genetic? Maybe it is. You see, my grandfather, Harry Elfman, at 19 years old, snuck into the United States from Lublin, Poland. When he was 19 years old, he, as far as we can tell, he was a stowaway on a ship that came into Mobile, Alabama. Most immigrants come in that era through New York and Ellis Island. He snuck into into Mobile, Alabama. He lived in Pensacola, Florida for many years. He was an entrepreneur. I can't quite know when exactly he got his citizenship, but he did. And he opened a business. And man, this guy was talented. As far as I can tell, he never went to high school or college, but he was smart. He actually was called a metal worker. But there is a patent in Harry Elfman's name or part of the umbrella that's still there today. Of course, it's expired, but there's even litigation in which the cites the Harry Elfman patent. Not that they tried to take his away, but the principles in some case. So Harry was a troublemaker. He not only had 9 kids and had a steel company. But it was construction. He put the roof on the Pensacola courthouse after it was destroyed during a hurricane. I think the 1907 hurricane. It might have been 1906. My mother was born in 1907. And apparently the city was not happy because somebody said that he billed the city an hourly wage for his workers higher than he actually paid them. So remember, it's an allegation. And he fled the city. He had 8 kids or 7 kids. And he fled Pensacola. He was discovered in Tennessee. He was brought back to the town, to Pensacola, and put on trial. He had the city attorney was the prosecutor, and he had 3 lawyers and 42 character witnesses. Boy, did he cause trouble. So I sort of think that that's where my troublemaking gene may have come from. That I raised it. My grandfather on my mom's side. Um, so I do know where my Alzheimer's came from, by the way, if I haven't told you already. It's from my grandmother on my father's side. Um, Clara Blonder was her maiden name. In the Blonder family that's still around has lots of APOE4 genes. So uh, anyway, that's what I have. So yeah, America made it possible for my both grandfathers, to come here. They both traveled during difficult times. One, as far as I can tell, snuck in. The other one to Ellis Island, and they were able to create successful lives and careers, and we carried their legacy. Um, me, I had 4 sisters. My one sister has 4 kids and even great grandkids. I'll talk about my son, Marcus, and my daughter, Rachel. Um, he's a lawyer, he's a state delegate in Virginia. He's very senior in a 100-person um, legislature. He's 26 in seniority. And my daughter is a pediatric dentist. And they each have 2 grandkids. And we have lived blessed and amazing lives. Susan's from Houston, by the way. She had 4 siblings. Um, and her dad was a salesman, a lot of sales in it, but they've done quite well in Houston. And there are many of us still around. So we're very thankful for being in America and for our opportunity. You know, there have been ups and downs in this country. There's been civil wars. So however tenuous life might seem politically from time to time, I think we all have the opportunity to lead meaningful lives that make a big difference in the world. And for me, even with my dementia, I hate it, my cognitive impairment, I want to live a meaningful life and make a difference in this world. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being partners in Dementia Man. Don't forget, there's a fundraising campaign going on. Just go to dementiaman.com /donate, and you too can be a producer of theater, and we've got some great merchandise available for those who make larger donations. All right, happy 4th.